What's really good, YouTube? It's your man Ribs from Doing Film Things. Every single week I put out a video or two about film photography, so if that's your thing, definitely go ahead and subscribe. All right, this week I've been doing a lot of printing and I want to kind of start to introduce you to the system that I have set up in my home darkroom. So I'm going to basically create a quick vlog where I show you the different kind of steps and the equipment and kind of just a general layout of how I'm moving around in there. This isn't going to be super precise. This is not a tutorial, so do not expect a very clear explanation of every single step, but I'm going to try my best to give you a quick layout from beginning to end of print. This video is going to be a bit long as well, so I'm going to include some time cards. That way you can skip ahead to the different parts of the video if you want. Yo YouTube, what's good? So we're in the bathroom in the dark room, and I'm currently selecting the negative that I want to print. It's going to be this one right here. This is a shot I took in China at the Great Wall. And I really love this shot because it kind of looks out into the expanse and you see all the mountains and kind of the huge landscape that surrounds the Great Wall area. Specifically around Beijing. I was about an hour and a half out of Beijing in this one. So you get to see some of the wall, you get to see the immediate landscape, and then you get to see the mountains in the distance. I think it's a really cool shot. So I'm gonna go ahead and load this into the negative holder now, and then I'm gonna walk through step by step the different parts of the printing process. Got our negative holder here. My enlarger is right here where my hand is touching, and you can't see it obviously because it's pointing in the wrong angle. And I'm not really gonna show it to you right now just because it's gonna be a huge pain in the ass to move this camera around while doing all this. So I'm gonna show you how I prepare my negative holder. Basically, very straightforward, nice kind of clamshell clamp kind of thing. With my gloves, I just kind of wipe off the negative and get off any dust and just any smudge, anything that could be on here, because I don't want any of that to interfere with the printing. I'm starting out, I'm in the bathroom, it's hot, and I'm trying to record this video while printing, so it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna put this in here and basically I just line it up with the holder. And the goal is to get the full image to show through the opening that's on the bottom. So you can see right here, there's an opening. That's where you want your image to be. And this one's gonna be tough because it's the last picture on the roll of 6. This one of the pictures in the middle and this kind of stabilizes itself. But because it's the last photo, gravity kind of sags it and it's just annoying. But we'll make it work. So there's some dust on here that just kind of falls in. Luckily the bathroom doesn't have a lot of dust. There are no windows in here, so not a lot of stuff kind of floating around in the air. But the gloves themselves kind of give off some dust here and there and that kind of thing. I'm just gonna wipe this off and try to do the best job I can. And just look at it. I look at it in the light, and if it looks good to me in the light, then I would say it's gonna look good in the enlarger, at least at the beginning. So just cleaning off some last bit of stuff on here. It's pretty clean. I'm just kind of obsessing over it, but I think we're all set. And the alignment looks good, so I have a feeling that this will give me the crop that I want. So this is it. I'm gonna go ahead and slide into the enlarger now. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do now that the negative is in the enlarger is I'm gonna turn off the lights, open up the aperture to maximum. I think on this one it's like 4.5 or something, at 4.5. And I'm just gonna put the image on the baseboard just so I can see what it looks like, check the cropping, make sure I'm happy with it. And then I'll also adjust the focus. I don't have a micro focus finder, so don't even come at me for that. I'm just gonna do it with my eyes, and if it looks good on my eyes and then it looks good on the test prints, then I'm gonna be pretty happy with it. So as you saw in that really, really bad footage, it's very dark and the camera's having a hard time picking up the very faint exposure from the enlarger. And that's just what it is. I'm not gonna kind of fuss with that anymore, but in pure darkness with your natural eyes, you can see it very, very well. All right, so I'm pretty happy with kind of everything, how it looks so far. I think the focus is dialed in and the crop looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and expose my first test print, and I'm gonna show you how to develop it. The exposing is not gonna be shown because it's gonna be super dark. There's no safe light in here or anything like that. So I'll do that in the dark. Once the paper is in the Jobo canister, then I'll show you how the developing happens. All right, y'all, so I just finished exposing my paper to the negative, and basically I did a 12-second total exposure, but I have 5 different increments on the actual page. This is the Jobo tank, by the way. Obviously it's sealed right now, and there's paper in here right now. There's 2 sheets because I did 2 different exposures. I think I messed the first one up. And basically, you see here, there's an opening, just like the canisters you use to develop film. So that's light tight. You pour your chemicals in, cover it so that nothing spills, and then you can go ahead and rotate it. So real quick, I want to tell you about kind of my favorite thing about using the Jobo, and that is this right here. You see that liquid in these containers? That's the only development liquid that I need to get a print developed and blixed, so bleach fixed. This is the developer right here, and I would say this is just under 2 ounces, around 50, 60 milliliters. And this is probably a little bit more than that. This is the Blix right here, and this actually can be reused over and over again after each print during one session. The internet is kind of confusing in terms of what the right answer is, but what I typically do is just use one set of Blix for my entire print session, which is usually about 2-3 hours across a couple different prints. And then the developer here, I actually use a new fresh kind of 2 ounce pour for every single development. So I really try to be efficient and use test strips and get multiple things in the tank. So if you're very efficient in kind of creating test prints and jamming them all into the Jobo tank, you can get a lot out of these chemicals. Alright y'all, so I'm going to show you what I got here. The results are definitely not looking great so far, but there is a couple things to learn from the print so far. And every single round that you print something, the whole point is to figure out what you need to change for the next round. You're never going to get it on the first try unless you get lucky. So it's really hard to tell in terms of the exposure because the lighting is just not going to transfer properly from my room to the camera off the print, so just kind of take my word for it. But basically, first and foremost, there was definitely an issue with the development here, and that's fine because again, these are test prints. So those crazy streaks you see across the image on the left side, that's just definitely bad developing, and also on the right side. But I'm not worried about that. That's totally something we can fix. In terms of what to learn from these images, it looks like the image is a bit too dark on the bottom, but also very bright on top. So definitely gonna have to do some dodge and burning in the final print. But right now, I think that 12 seconds is definitely probably too much, but I think we should probably focus on something between let's say 7 to 10 seconds. So I'm gonna do another batch of test prints, but this time I'm gonna expose half and half. So from the left side to the right side of the image, that way I can see the full setup from the sky to the foreground. And one side is gonna be 7 and the other side is gonna be 10. All right, y'all, so I think we're making some progress here. I did 2 more prints, one for exposure, and then the other one was also for exposure, but I actually tweaked the colors in between. So I covered everything, turned on the lights, and then I changed my magenta and yellow settings. I brought them down in order to decrease the filtration, allowing more of that color to show. So this is what we got. So as you can see here, both prints have this kind of line running through the middle of them, and that's distinguishing between the shorter exposure and then the longer exposure. The print on the left was using the same settings from the prior prints, that's why it's very blue. And the print on the right, I went ahead and changed that as I mentioned, and we got very different colors. So definitely moving in the right direction for color. And it looks like, if we focus on this print right here, it looks like the left side exposure looks pretty good for the mountains, but at the bottom here, it definitely falls a bit dark because of the things that are in the shadow. So we're definitely gonna have to do some dodging and burning here, but I'm gonna do one more exposure here to test for some colors, and I'm gonna do it on test strips. That way I don't keep wasting whole sheets of paper now that I think I nailed my exposure. And from there, we're gonna start messing around with the color. So I'll show you the progression of that in a bit. All right, y'all, so first update is it's way too hot in my bathroom, so I had to change my shirt, put on a tank top, and now you can see my bald head. Anyways, let's show you what I did with the prints. So you see here we have 2 different exposures. Again, don't worry about the colors because they're not gonna look great on YouTube regardless. On the left side and on the right side, we have the same exact exposure time, which is roughly 7 seconds. And the difference is that I took off 10 points of yellow between the 2 images. So the one on the left has yellow 100 and the one on the right has yellow 112. And because of that, the one on the right is kind of leaning into a very neutral exposure, leaning just a hint into more blue and kind of like, a neutral sky, nothing with too much warmth. The one on the left definitely has some warmth. And I was here when I took this photo, and I do remember quite vividly that the exterior, especially far in the mountains, was definitely very yellow because we were here very early in the morning and the sun was shining. That golden sun was just coming through. It was like golden hour, but in the morning, during sunrise. So I kind of do want some yellow to show up on this print. So I'm basically gonna split the difference. Instead of doing the yellow for the left or the right, I'm gonna go right in the middle. It's gonna be about yellow, let's say 106, 107, 108. And then the magenta reading is at 112. I'm gonna leave it at 112, do 2 more test prints, messing around with the settings again and just see what I get. But I think we're getting closer here. And of course, as you can see, we're gonna have to dodge that bottom half of the picture because it's just way too dark. I think what I've been describing here is basically why people don't like doing color printing, because it's a lot of messing around. It's very subjective, and there's a lot of time in between each one of these steps. So if you get something wrong, it's very easy to get frustrated, and it just kind of accumulates and then gets you going a bit crazy. Fortunately, this for me right now is just a big respite from everything that's going on in the world. I turn off my phone, I got some music playing in between recording, and I'm just chilling right now. No one's bothering me, and I'm stuck in this bathroom with no windows in my own little world. So I really enjoy this process right now. So I'm gonna get to it and I'll show you what we get. All right, y'all, so we're not looking too bad now. I actually got a little creative when I was exposing this, and I did do a little bit of dodging. So it's this image right here on the far right, and as you can see, the exposure is very even between the top of the image, but then also the bottom of the image. Both parts are fairly exposed compared to the previous image where the bottom was definitely much darker than the top. So I think somewhere along these lines is good. I think maybe just a bit darker on the bottom half. I actually think the bottom half could be a bit darker just to make it a bit more interesting, add a little bit of extra contrast in the overall image. And I think I'm gonna add just a bit more yellow as well. It looks very warm in here, but to my eyes right now in the room, it's definitely still a little too cold. I want just a bit more warmth to pop through there. All right, y'all, so you're probably just as tired as I am, and you're probably just starting to see my face. So good news is I think we got it. So there are the 2 images. The one on the left is the one that I developed with the exhausted chemical, and then the one on the right is the one that I did with proper chemicals. You can't really tell the difference here again, but promise me when I tell you that it's just looking very unevenly developed and a bit faded and kind of hazy. The one on the right here, I think we've got the colors where I want it to be. There's a hint of warmth there, and basically the dodge as well at the bottom brought out some detail, but still preserved a bit of the shadow to have some contrast overall in the entire image. So I think this is it. I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 final prints of this, and at that point I think we're gonna be done. So I'm gonna check in with you in just a couple moments. These are my 2 prints. Immediately you can tell a bit of a difference between the 2. First and foremost, the bottom half exposure is different between the 2. The one on the left was exposed for less time, therefore the bottom half is bright. And the one on the right was exposed for a bit longer on the bottom half, and therefore you see that it's darker. I actually like the one on the right a lot more than the one on the left because of that darker exposure on the bottom half, creating a nice contrast across the image. But if you look closely here, you see that long streak of overdeveloping? That basically happens because I assume a bit of developer kind of was hanging out in the tank, and then before I switched it to the Blix, that developer kind of just dropped down all the way across the image, and gravity pulled it all the way down and ruined the exposure. So I'm very sad about that, but I'm gonna keep the print anyways. So as you can tell, both images are looking nice and good. I got that warmth that I was looking for, and it definitely looks like that soft kind of morning golden hour light. It's very hazy in China when I took this, so although the sun was unimpeded by no clouds anywhere, the haze definitely softened things up just a bit. So I think this is pretty good for tonight. I'm actually out of developer now, so I won't be doing any more printing until I get a new shipment in a couple days. And also I think I'm content with this image. I got the mood I was looking for, and I got 2 prints, although one of them, it's not really usable, but for my personal archive, I think that's okay. Right now, I just kind of wanted to get you in the studio and do a bit of a vlog and show you how I move around in here. And with this darkroom, it's very limited. I've got kind of the bare bones essentials that I need, and I can do some decent work, which I'm pretty proud of.
All right, y'all, so I know that was long, so I really appreciate you sticking around. So before we close, I want to show you what the physical print looks like. Here's the print that I did a couple nights ago, and that was featured in the video. Again, it's real hard to show kind of the colors and the quality of this print via the camera, so take it as you may, but just know that I'm very happy with how it turned out, even though I definitely could make some additional adjustments. Who knows, maybe I'll print this image again in the future. I also have a list of all the gear that I use in the description box below, so definitely check it out if you're interested. And of course, if you have any questions about the process or my thoughts or whatever, definitely hit me up in the comments. I'd love to chat with you. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. And of course, again, if you're interested in more videos like this, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Until the next one, y'all, peace.